You would appreciate that given what we have had in 1994, it didn't go away, it was still there. So the plans that were there had to be implemented, and the plans were taking development in that direction. It meant that the apartheid spatial planning was perpetuated. Issue of land, available suitable lands next to opportunities of work and so on was not available near the centers of job opportunities. Houses were built away from these centers. And at the time we said the government was busy with political emancipation. The budget was not enough to respond to the demands on housing. And the rural areas were neglected in this regard. The houses that were built by the democratic government, some of them were 18 square meter houses. If you drive on N1, you'll see some of them are still there. Some were 22 square meter. The 18 square meter house was a one room. Some of them had foundation that you can add it on later on. And there was a 26 square meter house, 32 square meter, 36 square meter. Currently the house that's been built is, guess what, 40 square meter. We are back to 40 square meter. The one that was built in Soweto. Okay. The sectoral transformation was being tested. A lot of mistakes were made where contractors that were not experienced were appointed. Lack of social understanding of how this product that is the house would be received by people, how it would be used. Things like the blockage of manholes. The house was insensitive to its inhabitants. There was no privacy. The walls, the internal walls went just up to a wall plate level. There was no wall going to the roof. Some of the houses were built in the floodplains. Some were built in poor soil conditions without adequate foundations. And this resulted in a very terrible expenditure in the years 2011 to 2013, where the government spent 2.1 billion to spend to fix the houses. NHBRC was quite instrumental in that. And this was an expenditure, an opportunity that was lost that could have given the other people houses. These were some of the problems that were fixed. This is a ground problem, the services problem, the roads problem where there are no roads built, and then you had a lot of flooding, and then contractors abandoning site, poor workmanship being done, and these are some of the challenges that unfortunately are still out there, that are experienced by the people that have received these houses. We're saying some of the problem was the clients don't have the knowledge, technical know-how on the product that they're dealing with. Housing is seen as a social response rather than a technical response. There's issues around budget management, scope definition, and lack of resources, lack of integrated planning, and some projects, just political will to make them good was not there. Wrong procurement practices, disregard to responsibility, and corruption played quite a serious role in that, where payments are done but there are no houses on the ground. On the professional side, sorry, also our industry also must take a little bit of a beating on this, because we allowed people that are non-technical to do projects that are technical of nature. So you find there's no expertise and the responsibility is not there. Management of the project in terms of the budget, the quality and cost is not there. And also corruption, because people are not professional enough to do this project. The contractors, we have instances where teachers are appointed as contractors. They don't have expertise. They offer poor workmanship, lack of supervision, and also corruption. And we saw that if the combination of resources, good resources on site, good people management, and the processes can yield a good project. Some high-level challenges with this is that we said the township perpetuated apartheid planning, lack of integration, and what we call 40-40, the principle of 40-40-40 is enhanced, meaning a 40 square meter house built 40 kilometers away from work, where a person spends 40% of their income on transportation. Lack of consumer knowledge on basic maintenance. Sorry, it skipped there. But the list I've already listed. To date, 4.5 million houses have been built. You can see the delivery over the years. Also the service stands that were done. It's quite a big task and hasn't been achieved anywhere in the world in terms of social housing. Those are the figures for the previous financial year, but one, in terms of the provinces, in terms of stands and houses that were built, 152,000 was delivered. So the RDP house of today looks a little bit different. It's done in line with the housing code and the guidelines for human settlement planning and design. And SANS 1200, SANS 400 AX, which looks at energy efficiencies and other municipal standards. On the design parameters, we still look at lead usage, single stand against densification. We have an opportunity now to densify, to do a 4-story buildings. The stand size is still an issue because of the numbers that needs to be taken care of. The level of service, the class of service, one can augment that with a mixed use project where there's a cross-subsidization. Questions that needs to be asked is on the roadside, is it a gravel road? Is it paved road in terms of paving blocks or asphalt? What's happening with the cul-de-sacs? The cabbing, do we have mountable cabs or non-mountable? Do we provide for taxi laybys, traffic calming measures? Are we doing what we call, in Johannesburg it's killed, this thing called full street concept, where we look at pedestrians, non-motorized vehicles, and the vehicle itself. I think the current mayor has done away with what is called full street concept. On the stormwater side, are we using the channels? Are we using the road as a carrier? Are we using lined or unlined channels? Are we using piped stormwater systems? And we're saying ideally for this development, you should be looking at a 600 millimeter pipe for ease of cleaning, because the 450 pipes, they tend to clog with other things. The usage of urban drainage systems in attenuation dams and the sewer system, we look at the mid-block. We're using an on-street system. Avoidance of pump stations as far as possible. Are we going to use minimum diameter pipe as 110 or 160? We should move to 160 because of what we know will happen with backyard structures being created, which puts pressure on the sewer system. And the positioning of these manholes for serviceability, we need to look at that. On the water side, are we looking at restrictive or non-restrictive flow meters, automated PVRs, and making sure that there's sufficient pressure system, the fire hydrants are correctly placed, we have a leak detection system or reporting mechanism, we secure our valve boxes, and we use correctly specified material. For instance, on soils that or areas that have got dolomite, specify the correct material for dealing with dolomite, i.e. HDPE pipes or similar. On electricity side, looking at overhead system, or is it an underground system? Cabling to the house, will it from that system be an overhead system or underground? The installation of prepaid meters to ensure people pay for the electricity, and mini subs, where are they positioned? And the future things to consider now is voltaic or solar lighting, solar heating, heat pumps, and gas. It's interesting that Gauteng as a province, they exploring the usage of gas to use for heating purpose. Other technological things, look at 4G, LTE, fiber, Wi-Fi. Are we designing RDP to be the RDP of the past, or we need to respond to things that are coming in the future? Of course, these things cost money. This needs to be changed at the policy level as well, but this doesn't stop innovation. We design our townships for residential usage with very little stands for businesses, or what is the buzzword is township business economy. And I see the doctor is here. Okay, so are we making provision for the spaza shops, hair salons, small-scale fabrication, steel, aluminium, motor mechanics? Interestingly, the sizes of stands that we make for churches and places of worship are also caught up in the bylaws of the cities, in that the size of the church is dependent on number of parking bays that it can accommodate. And cleverly, some of these things, by positioning the church near a crèche, you can sort of have an overspill of parking on the other facility. Do we have fruit and veg stalls, food vendors, car washes, what we call chisanyamas, or places of chill, and other cultural and ceremonial issues? Are our houses, or the town planning that we have, or the services that we provide, are they sensitive to these issues? I just want to share an example, and I see it's not here, it will come after this. What I'm talking about is that cleverly, we need to influence our town planners as well, to say where you have a school, obviously the roads that are next to the school will take little bit of more traffic when kids are being dropped, either by mummies or by school transport system. So we need to ensure that there is sufficient parking or passing lanes around the school. The other restricting issues are with the level of service, where we have our road reserves sitting at 10.5. I think this one is, yeah, this one. It's 10.5 meter road reserve, and we need to put in a minimum road of 5 meter width, and suddenly we have stormwater, we have electricity, we have fire hydrants. Suddenly there's a lot of congestion by the road reserve, which results in other things that are not intended for. What else can I talk about? Oh yeah, the usage of the mid-block sewer system, ensuring that that servitude is always clear of buildings or any disturbance that can take place there. This layout shows that the roads, as I was talking about, where you would have very narrower. If you were to put now the walkways around this road, and you still have to accommodate other services, we see our people then because when you design a house, you design for today's terms, but a person's personal life changes. So if you find people buy cars, people move upward in the economy, some of them that are lucky, and then now our services cannot cater for such things. From design perspective, sorry, this is the drawing that I wanted to show you. This is how our road reserve is experienced when actually this is a Chisanyama place. So it is at least once a month it is like this. Is our design, our services responding to how this community is experiencing this? Obviously, a lot of things can go wrong. Heating of pegs onto the road, which later will result in a spot for a pothole, and which adds additional maintenance on the road. What we're talking about, the subsidy quantum that we're talking about for today, I will share with you, it's 102,000 just for the construction of the house. We're saying it dictates the type of product that we give. It limits in terms of the innovation that I was suggesting just now, and the level of service can be enhanced by mixed land usage. And currently the policy of the government is to do this type of products, where there's what is called breaking new ground, which is a new site that needs to be built, or what is called finance-linked subsidy program, rental or social housing, bonded stock, and then obviously to mix it with commercial and light industrial, to ensure that people are not far from the places of work. There's also programs like inner city renewal program. You would have seen 3 days ago, yesterday there was fire on one of the buildings, and 3 days ago the mayor of Johannesburg was doing some rounds to really look at the so-called hijacked buildings. Hostels needs to be upgraded to be turned into family units, and there's a lot of informal shacks that needs upgrade, and I wanted to say private-public partnerships are the way to go now. And if you look at the income bands, a person that earns 0 to 3,500 qualifies for breaking new ground. The person that earns 3,500 to 18,000 can either be a FLISP or gap housing. This is actually a household income. And obviously 18,000 and beyond, they can afford their own bond. Social housing rental can start from 1,500 and the other rental from 3,500. The quantum for services, it's 43,000, and here the level of service that is expected is grade A and grade B. It's very minimum, basic level of services. But through design and densification, one can really get a lot done with that 43,000. And the top structure is 102,000, excluding the professional fees and beneficiary admin. So I didn't put the amount. It will take it to 110. That's about 8,000 of that. There's additional top-up for adverse soil condition. It will be up to 15%. I see NHBRC here. And then, okay, I didn't put the amount for disability. Depending on the type of disability that a person has, there's a top-up that goes with that. The new one now is military veterans, where the Department of Military Veterans puts in additional 70,000. The house there is 55 square meter house with tiles, with tiles on the floor, BICs, and a palisade fence, and a carport with paving around the carport. So it's quite a nice house. On the rental units or social housing, the subsidy is 125, but I'm told that the minister has increased it now to 152,000. I haven't seen any documents. And then for the services, it's additional 180 to cover for external works. These figures exclude what we call the bulk, which is taken care by the municipality or provincial infrastructure grant. On the right, I've got the source of funding. We have what we call HSDG, which is a human settlement development grant. We have social housing, what is called restructuring capital grant. And then the military veterans, I said they do top up. For electricity, the Department of Energy gives in. And then for bulk infrastructure, there's a urban settlement development grant, USDG, or MIC, the old MIC. And the older guys would know CMAP. And those are the source of funding for this development. The house itself, it looks a little bit better than the Soweto one we saw, but it's still a 40 square meter. We've got different typologies, what we call a square shape and an L shape, and then depending on the architect, they would do different versions of this. So there's a bit of flexibility in terms of the design. If we go to how the houses look like, we've looked at 4 typologies here. It's a 2-bedroom house. The walls are built of 140 millimeter brick, a maxi brick. Inside also it's divided by a maxi brick. In the past it used to be brick on edge at 90 millimeter. This was not offering greater resistance structurally, and also to offer that privacy. And then the windows, it really nice size windows on the street front, and it's got a 1 liter water system, sorry, 11 liters. It's power floated. The external walls are plastered and painted, and then this rendering around the house gives it a really nice look. Oh yeah, the roof, it's concrete tiles, and it's got insulation in it. It's got electrical wiring, 1 plug per room, and with a DB board, and then there's a stove isolator. And in what we've seen, each department, provincial department, will then insist on certain things, like in Gauteng they will put in a 100 liter high pressure solar geyser as part of the amount. Other provinces will, in Free State, they increase the size of the house. It's a really beautiful house that is available also in the open market. You can buy this house from developers like your Cosmos in towns that they develop this. It's slightly bigger, it's about 45 square meter for about 450. And because it's enhanced, we build it with surfaced roads. You really get a very nice neighborhood that is created. This is a project that we are busy with in Mapias near Mamelodi. So the quality of the product that is being rolled out there, it's really a marvel to stay in this neighborhood. And in fact, we've seen some of the people that have already moved into the houses taking pride in making sure the garden is beautiful, and some of them are putting nice plants around it. This is just installation of services, a project that we are doing in the Val Marina. This was a very difficult site because we had to get a buy-in of the community that is there. You know, they say in Val Marina there's more boats than anywhere in the sea. So we had to get a buy-in that as you travel up the road towards the Val Marina dam, it shouldn't be an eyesore. And really our client was very accommodating that we give a good product. What we've done there, it's a ring road, services are installed, and with a paved walkway on each side with a bus bay there and also on that side. So the idea is that then the developers that will come and build the stands will find the road already done, and it will give a different outlook. It's such that even the municipality is actually upgrading this road. So, okay, that was the previous site that we are still busy with. We should be off-site by August. We should be off-site by August. We are off-site by August. Yeah, there's still a lot of work on this side.